Hello, class. Let's build an assembly of parts in OnShape. Go to plus, create assembly. Now we're going to insert our three parts into our empty workspace. Insert, find your parts, click part 1, drop it. Click part 2, drop it. Click part 3, drop it. If you have 4 parts, put your 4th part in. Accept that. Now, you see we have 3 parts. Let's move them around to get a little space. You can click and drag, okay? Something to note, when you're moving things in an assembly, use the standard views. It makes lining things up easier. Okay, there's our 3 parts. One thing I recommend is line up the base part, the foundation of your project. For us, it's this bracket. I would kind of make sure it's near the origin somewhere. It's not super important, but it can't hurt. Okay, now let's take our base part number 1, okay, and we're going to 2-finger click here and we're going to fix it. That locks it to the ground so it can't move anymore, and that's important to have a piece that can't move, especially since we want our gear to be able to spin when we animate it. Okay, now we're going to put our axle into our base, and looking at our axle, I noticed that it's in the wrong orientation. It should be pointing back this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go top view and I'm going to click on it, and now you see you have some arrows to move and some handles here, this one to rotate. So I'm going to click that handle and drag it, and I'm going to go to 180. Make sure you type in 180. Always rotate your parts with 90-degree increments, okay? Or else they get all out of whack and it's hard to assemble things. Okay, 180. Click, and now it's set up right. Great. Now we're going to fasten it to our thing. You cannot just drag it here and call it good, okay? You need to use what are known as mates, okay? The first mate is here. It's called a fasten mate. We're going to fasten our axle to our base. So I'm going to select what surface I want to match with another surface. So for me, that's going to be this back surface of our axle. And notice when you hover, you see these little yellow circles. Those are known as mate connectors. Okay, OnShape puts them at all corners and edges and centers of cylinders. So I'm going to select this one there, click it. That puts it in our list. And I'm going to select the one that lives at the surface of this cylinder right here. Click it. And now I'm going to accept that. And now our axle is perfectly fastened into our bracket. Okay. Note, if you need to go back into your mate, you can double click it over here and you can edit. Maybe you need to flip your part around like that. You can flip the axis. You can move mate connectors away from each other using offset. So if I needed to move this part, I could shift it over a bit. Or in this way, I could shift it over a lot or a little. So the offset is very handy. And you can also rotate parts. You can rotate those mate connectors as well. Okay, we're not going to do any of that, but there's that option. All right, so that's fastened to that. Great. The next part is the sprocket, and we need to make the sprocket live on the axle here, and it needs to be able to spin. So the next mate connector is called revolute, and if you look at the shape of that, it looks like something that can spin. And what does it say? It says allows rotation about the z-axis. The first selection serves as a rotational piece, and the second as the stationary. So we're going to select first our sprocket and secondly our axle. Okay, same way, you need to select 2 mate connectors. I'm going to click the revolute mate. I'm going to choose one on my sprocket first because that's the part, that's the rotational piece. And I'm going to come around to the back and I'm going to select this surface of the inner, the hole there. And now I'm going to orbit around to this side, and I want that mate connector to match up with the center of this surface here, right? Or the end of this cylinder, and that's right there. So I'm going to click that, and OnShape will pull those pieces together. Now I'm going to accept that. Now notice I can click and drag my sprocket around. It can spin. Because this is fastened, fixed, this can spin. A cool thing you can do with all these mates that have axis of motion is you can two-finger click, you can animate. And when you click play, it will spin. If you change it to loop, it'll spin forever. All right, so that's our assembly. Great work, pretty simple stuff. Do it this way, and now we can put our assembly as the first page of our plan packet. Bye.